So this week, I was really looking forward to relaxing. I had some videos already set up, I had some new drawings I wanted to work on, and I just needed some time off in general. But no, not only did a new Bluey episode drop, which is always something to celebrate, but apparently it's been upsetting more than a few people, which upsets more people, and yeah, you probably know the drill. Say it with me, another Bluey controversy. Of course, it had to happen after I made a video solely on the topic, although this time it's a bit different because I can actually see where the controversy is coming from. Yes, it's crazy, I know. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily agree with it, nor do I like the drama people have created, but there are some things that I wanted to point out, and hopefully use this to create an important discussion. So what's all this kerfuffle about anyways? Well, it mainly comes from the premise of the new Bluey episode. No, Bandit's not getting pregnant again, or cheating in a competition with a child, or chewing on rare artifacts, or wearing diapers? But as of recently, some people have become upset because they think the episode is fat-shaming, or showing overweight people in a bad light. Now, I know this is a really heated topic, and one that's become a bit political, because of course it had to be, so I'm gonna be extra careful with this one, and I hope y'all can stick with me. But for context, this all started in the episode Grannymobile, where an old lady basically acts like a complete Karen. At least that's how my colleagues would put it, and in her fit of grumpiness, insults Bandit about his size.
Oh, Doreen, you need to go higher than that.
You need to lay off the biscuits.
But all jokes aside, it's made pretty clear that Bandit is obviously hurt by this, which is actually heartbreaking if I'm being honest. He's in the mirror, grabbing his stomach, and even thinks to himself this very, very familiar line.
A lot of this is just water weight.
And with this, I'm surprised nobody got upset at this episode for fat shaming. Knowing how the internet is, I was kind of bracing for something like that. But I guess it was made pretty clear that the old lady was being a complete and utter son of a... jerk. And obviously in the wrong. But here in the new episode, the show takes a different stance, because Bandit's weight isn't just used as a cheap insult by obviously bad people, but rather now has become a genuine concern for him, as Bandit decided that he wants to be more fit, which involves him going on an exercise routine, with of course Bluey and Bingo causing shenanigans along the way. Now, overall, I thought the episode was pretty enjoyable. Nothing too crazy or emotional, but it was simple fun. It kind of gave me season 1 vibes, which I really enjoyed, so I wasn't really planning on covering it, but then everything basically hit the fan, with some people believing that the episode was telling viewers that it wasn't okay to be fat, including such headlines like Kate Emery, fat shaming and why I found a Bluey episode I finally hate, Bluey fans divided over toxic episode, Bluey exercise episode slammed as fatphobic. And of course, on the opposing side, you had those who believed that the controversy was completely overblown, insisting that people were being too sensitive, and that there was nothing wrong with Bandit wanting to get fit. And frankly, I do agree on that regard. Exercise, more often than not, is a good thing, and being healthy isn't a bad thing. That's kind of the whole point of being healthy, of course. Plus, for some people, tough love or negative attention are actually things that can get people to take action. But I know that tough love, as I like to call it, doesn't always work. And I can see why people are upset with this, as I have to admit that, as great of a message exercising and being fit obviously is, the opening scene with Bandit does really feel on the nose, and really pushing the idea that Bandit is not fit, but we really don't see a major reason why, apart from the fact that he was insulted over it by someone who clearly doesn't care about him. And fellow YouTuber Aussie girl Margie brought up a really good point in her video about the topic where she said that it would have been better if they showed Bandit's doctor evaluation at the beginning. And I actually agree with this, because this way, they could have shown how Bandit was unhealthy or why he needs to exercise, such as his blood rate being too high, or him being at risk of some serious condition. Because I guess Bandit is kind of overweight, but honestly, I never thought of him as fat or anything. But personally, he looks fine to me. And yeah, he does have the occasional ice cream or moment to relax, but don't we all do that? In fact, unless there's some sort of health condition or concern that wasn't mentioned, I would have assumed he was perfectly healthy, especially since he does so many activities and seems to eat relatively healthy. So considering that he isn't obviously unhealthy or obese, I can kinda see why people think this is toxic. As in a realistic situation, not involving blue cartoon dogs I assume, this could be harmful and, in some cases, lead to things such as eating disorders, which are obviously not good. They even have a part where Chili is concerned about her weight, despite the fact that she's already notably thinner than Bandit. Now, of course, I don't obviously think the creator's intentions was to give people eating disorders or insult people who are fat. That's just ridiculous, as I'm sure they just wanted to make a fun episode about healthy habits and exercise, which I think is great. We need to have more role models who encourage healthy habits. I don't know how many of you remember it, but one of my favorite shows growing up was this series called Lazy Town. Most of you probably know it for that We Are Number One song that got really popular. And I know it's been years, but I'm still sad we lost Stefan, the guy who played Robbie. Rest in peace to a legend. But to this day, years later, it still makes me think about things such as healthy eating or exercise. And I think it's beautiful that a show as inspirational as Lazy Town or Bluey can change people for the better. But in the case of Bluey, I'm just not sure if it was done the right way. And I do think that it could have been handled a little bit better, such as better explaining the consequences of not exercising, or that they have a reason to act for their own good, and not because of the petty insults of others. And in conclusion, I have to admit I'm kind of neutral on the whole thing, but I can see why people agree or disagree, as I think the idea of Bandit and Chili getting fit is a great concept, and I think it's great that a show encourages things such as healthy eating or exercise. After all, it can make a great difference and come with a lot of benefits, and I think it's something we should see more in shows and media, especially with how commonplace junk food and unhealthy habits are in our world. Okay, ignore the background. That's definitely not a 90s Taco Bell. Just pretend that's not there. But on the other hand, I can also see why some found this problematic, even if it was completely blown out of proportion, as the episode doesn't really do a good job of explaining why Bandit or Chili suddenly need to get fit, despite already seemingly being pretty healthy, and I do think it comes off as a bit on the nose, especially the opening scene. But with that said, I'm really curious to know your thoughts on the situation. I know this is a very, very hot button issue, and that a lot of you might disagree with my stance, which is perfectly okay, I get it. After all, I'm just here to give some insight on the situation, and most of all, offer my personal opinion. So with that said, B&B Productions will be signing out. Have a great day everyone, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you soon. Goodbye everyone.